Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel. I'm your host, Tamara Caulder Richardson, and wanted to go over a couple announcements, and then we're ready to get started on part 2 with Luisa from Passion Harvest. So if you haven't signed up for my Academy of Divine Wisdom, do so. I have some courses there, and I'm teaching superpowers right now. But you can sign up for my newsletter and you'll find out different courses that are going on. I have some free ones there too. So check that out and sign up. I also have readings for star seeds as well as evidential life path. And that's pretty popular. I do this quite often here all over the world, quite honestly. And then I also have my Seeking Heaven channel store.com where I have some really cool products, kind of like my cup here. I work for the Office of Christ, which which is Metatron, Michael, and the whole gang. So I want to jump right in because let me tell you about our guest. I'm sure you've heard of her, Luisa at Passion Harvest. She is a true delight. She has the channel on YouTube called Passion Harvest, but she literally is a Passion Harvest ambassador. I mean, she really puts her heart out there and speaks her truth. And I really admire her. But she's going to talk about, she's been talking in part 1, if you haven't missed it, her spiritual journey, how she started the YouTube. And now we're kind of picking up from there. Please watch it because she talks about a life change and going through, some life decisions, which you watch the first one, you'll see. And now we're talking about the YouTube. And she's going to also talk about her intuitive abilities and her mystery mastery program. So again, passionharvest.com. You can see all that below. But I'm going to bring her on. We're going to continue our conversation. We're going to dive deep in this one. So here we go.
Welcome. Hi, Tamara. Good to be back.
Well, I am so happy to see you again. And I want, this is a great opportunity that people can see you for you. And you're so busy interviewing people as well as I. And I it's funny when you get people, I've had people say, Tamara, you should talk about yourself. Oh, it's not that I mind it like yourself, but it is kind of fun talking to other people. And that's why I never understood people that had channels just themselves. And I'm thinking, how boring would that be? Isn't it more delightful to share and to learn from others? So you were saying that you went through, to just quick recap, you went through the life change. You were unhappy. It was an amazing story. You were talking about the woman in the cage, and then it had to, went through the divorce. And now here you are, have this gorgeous home in the south of France, and you started this YouTube. So you've had your channel about the same time I've had, 3 years. You had, I think, consider reading books. Why don't I just talk to people? And then I was told by Jesus to do it. And I'm like, YouTube, I don't know. How do you use this? and we both probably had to learn, search engine optimization, how to stream live on different channels, various things. So one of the things that came up for me, I didn't expect that I would meet such cool people that I actually deeply care about. And I think that I feel myself more connected globally because here you are in the south of France, just the location wise. I have friends in England. I have friends New Zealand, Australia. I've met people in South Africa. I've actually got an activation for a year on and off from a lady from South Africa.
Interesting.
Yeah. This works. This intuitive stuff. I've read people all over the world. I've read people in Africa, which was interesting because their names are different. They're not like Betty.
How to pronounce?
So yes. I would always have to apologize. I hope I don't get your name wrong. But I want to know, how has this affected you? Because I did this out of just pure, I was told to do it. I was like, well, okay. And then it became exciting. And I have to tell you, this is more of an act of love and passion. I mean, honestly, by the time I pay for the StreamYard and all this and that, I don't really make anything. That's not how I didn't do it to make money in the first place. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that if that's what it's for, money is an exchange. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is truly an act of passion. So, and I have met so many incredible people that I would not have met in my entire city. And I live in a city with 3 million people. So what have you learned having your channel, and how did it start?
It is amazing. I just want to go back to that, and passion, since the show's called Passion Harvest. But really, people say, well, how do I find my passion? How do I live my best life?
Mhm.
How do I listen to the whispers of my soul? And I always say, follow what feels right. If
That's your
something,
book. That's your book,
yeah,
Louisa.
follow
Whisper,
what, well, I don't have a book yet, but the
listening
whispers of your
listening to the
soul.
whispers of your soul.
Because angels, guides, spirit guides are always offering you positive advice. And we can pick that up very often by our body, by intuitive knowing, but it's what feels exciting, even if it's the smallest thing, like going outside gardening or going for a walk. You don't know who you might meet or what conversations you might overhear, and some synchronistic way it relates to some of the questions or perhaps the next direction you're meant to move in. So I always say follow, just start small, the little things that feel good without expectations of on the outcome. Sometimes we can block the energy. You see, when we're following our intuitive guidance, be open to other avenues instead of being so fixed on the outcome. And this really is how to live your best life.
I think that's really good advice because we both started our channels for no reason except for to learn, to maybe be of service,
Yes.
to learn along the way. I thought I was doing it just to be of service.
And it must have felt exciting and new, and it just felt good.
But that something happened, and it's so funny. The other side, or I say team guide, they always know these things are going to happen, and we don't. That's why we need to listen to that little inner voice. But what happened is I thought I was being of service, which is so funny and a little bit naive. But really, it was my own heart that was filled with these incredible people that I've got to meet some of them in person, and I feel like lifelong connections. And this is the world that we live in. That is, it is an illusion that there's distance because we're spiritual beings. There is no distance. That's why healings work
Absolutely.
remotely all over the world, or intuitive or medium readings work all over the world. I mean, I've done medium demonstrations with British people online. It works just fine. And so we need to remove those constraints. And when I started my channel, I really didn't know that a lot of the technical stuff and different aspects, and it was new. And I think that if in life, if it doesn't scare you a little bit and and also excite you, then you're not going to your next level. What do you
Yes,
think?
it's not. I agree. I didn't even answer your question about the interviews, but it's not always
We're going to go there.
comfortable. We do like to stay in our comfort zone. Me too, sometimes. But our soul is always guiding us, um, guiding, not pushing us, guiding us to do more, to overcome sort of cyclic wounds that perhaps we've carried from trauma from this life or many other past lives. Sometimes doing what is a little bit fearful or feel fearful for us, as long as it's not physically going to hurt us, really opens us up to new dimensions and new perspectives. Our ego likes to keep us small and safe, but unfortunately we don't grow from this. We don't learn as much as opening our horizons and exploring new things and doing different things and following what feels good despite the fears. It's funny, people are so often afraid of death, and it's a very common thing. But I have clients and I say, but people are so afraid of death, but they're also afraid of living. Many people just don't live.
You're true. Well, I think defining what is living, and I think that it's I don't, want to get your feedback on this, but for you were in the corporate world, and 27 years I worked with corporations with my advertising agency, which we don't ever lose anything because now you have these great skills. Because I said you're very organized. You still use it
Thank
with
you.
and your website is beautiful. That's a lot of organization. And I use it for for my stuff and also for my graphics and my visual designer and writer. So you still use your things in a different way, but but when you're looking at doing something different, it's really it's exciting, but especially when you look at it at the right for the right reasons. If you do it because it excites you and you feel led to do it, and a lot of times you don't know why, you don't get the why till later.
Mm.
But to me, it's helped my voice. Has it helped your voice to tell your truth more, to speak out?
Yes, not my physical voice, but absolutely. My God, I
Oh,
was the
your
worst
voice.
interview ever when I first started. Um, yes, I'm much more confident, and I said to you even before this interview, I said, "Gosh, years ago I would have been terrified. Now let's just do it and have fun." Of
Well,
course, and everyone likes to be heard. Everyone likes someone to think that they care,
you're right.
and everyone wants to be heard. So often, our voice, even if it's with friends or families or partners or in the work situation, we're not validated and heard. And I think that's such an important thing for all of us to be heard and really listened to on. I say this to clients as well. I don't want to talk about that, but on a soul level, because people say, well, no one's ever really talked to me like that before. And to be able to have a conversation with you and I'm not worrying what you might think of me. I'm not worrying what others might think of me. I'm just being me in all of my meanness.
Right. Well, I think that it's so rare these days. I mean, it's not as rare as it was. 2020 woke a lot of people up because I think we were talking pre-show. We said, "Well, we should record this." That either people were stuck with certain people in the homes, and they got to find out, oh, well, okay, we got along better, you got tighter, or you're like, wow, not really happy with the situation. And they got to learn a lot about themselves. And you've seen through this time, really since 2020, people that have gotten to know themselves more and have questioned their own reality, whatever that is, or
Yes,
whatever
it's
they
it's
want.
I just have to say to anyone that's listening, it's so liberating to be yourself. It's probably like going outside and dancing in the rain naked. It's just be you. What have
Well,
you got to worry about except you're amazing. I'm talking to the audience, but you're great and wonderful, and there's no one that's youer than you, as Dr. Zeus said, that I love. It's liberating. It's incredibly liberating.
yeah, but you're also an example of that because you did, after being in a marriage 19 years, that took to do it gracefully and lovingly because you had children together, to do
Yeah.
that because you loved yourself first.
I'm
That
still
still
learning that.
that
That's
is gutsy, and that had to take a lot. And we don't realize it. I mean, I didn't sign up, oh, well, I'm going to be a role model, but I definitely am concerned about leading people the wrong way. I want to say positive things, but you are a role model, and by your life, by you stepping forward, because each person, if they do that, gives the courage for the next person to speak forward and step forward and speak their truth. And that's why it was funny you said that, when the marriage broke up, oh, what are people going to say? Then you started the channel, and you're like, I'm talking about all these crazy topics, NDEs, OBEs, ghosts, all sorts of crazy. So, what are people going to say? But when did you get to a point you're like, who cares?
um, I don't know. It just kind of happened over time.
You woke up one day, you're like, oh, okay.
Because it's so constricting and confining to, we're almost like all actors on a stage to be
Very much.
someone
Yeah.
who be someone who others wish you to be, to act in a manner or to do things to please others. I did it for many, many years, and I realized not only was I'd repressed myself, and it does lead to conflict because you can't actually be yourself, but you can't do enough cartwheels or handstands to please others. It doesn't work. It might work momentarily, but then something else will come up and you have to act in different ways and, become a different actress to please others. And it's just too confusing.
It is, but the other thing I think is giving ourselves permission to evolve. And I can tell you, I'm still doing it because I can feel
Me
it.
too.
Really, I can feel it. And I mean, I when I had it was the whole month of July of over 3 years ago that Jesus told me to start the channel. I'm like, what? He was, because I can hear him, and he's very playful. He said, yeah, you need to do this, yeah. And I said, we'll talk about everything, just talk about different things. I mean, and so same thing as you, and I think it's very important because it sounds like we're echoing the same message, but in different ways.
Yes.
And that's beautiful because we're trying to give people the courage to live their life and not listen to all this. I mean, there's a lot of negative PR out there in general, and you have to listen to your inner self because, and also have that discernment and go forward and not have that fear. And unless it's like a genuine fear, like you said, like, oh, don't go there, that might hurt your body, or if you drive too fast. But otherwise fears aren't really legitimate. But I feel that it's okay to let yourself evolve, and sometimes that means you evolve out of the friendships and you evolve out of the relationships that you have, but so do they. They need to go on too, and we need to go on too.
Like you, I've been interviewed the most incredible people and learned so many things. But what I've realized that each interview, each conversation is an activation. So not only for me, but for anyone that listens to it. It's an activation
Mhm.
for the person that's listening to it in some way, somehow, some dimension, that it's opening a spark of curiosity, of awareness, even if it's one phrase. Even I always say, even if I have one interview that helps one person, that perhaps changes a life, even in the smallest part, it's all worth it.
I agree. They could be, what really touches me is every now and then you'll get a comment and they'll say, I've been feeling that way my whole life. It was such a relief to hear that person's story. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and it's to me that makes it worthwhile. Or just the fact that on the another hand, doesn't it feels good to me when I can have someone who's basically not really a public speaker, that's kind of quiet. Maybe they had a near death experience. They're very kind of shy. They're not a known person. I'll say, come tell your story. And they just light up and they're like so real. And
Yeah.
those are the better ones, that people that are real. But the fact is, we are giving people a platform, and hopefully that creates a ripple effect. How has that affected you as you started doing this? Which stories do you think that affected you the most, and what do you feel about what are some of the lessons? Like, you've interviewed a lot of near death experiencers. What are
Mhm.
things that you've picked up on that you've learned?
Oh, I've learned so many things, but it's also, I guess it's solidified that really consciousness, in my opinion, and as I say to anyone, don't listen to what I say, do what feels right for you. But there's absolutely no doubt that consciousness survives the physical body. I absolutely believe that there's reincarnation. Time is very interesting for me. I believe everything is actually happening at the same time. That's a whole another story.
No, I think so too, but that's only because I've heard so much stuff, and I don't know. It's all, I can't tell you where it's all coming from, but I believe the same as you. It's very complex.
Mm. And what else? It's just taught me also that, you don't have to agree with anyone, but everyone's story. I mean, it takes a lot for someone to come and talk
Mhm.
about what did you say, weird or bizarre. It's their truth, and it's all real. Everything's real, and everything's there in consciousness, and it's infinite. The possibilities. I always say anything's possible and everything's probable. Everything.
So, at this point, everything's real.
Yes.
Ghosts are real, Bigfoot, fairies, dragons. Okay, they're real. They're the ones in the ground in the middle of the caves, and there's the there. I mean, these are. I've come a long way thinking any of this stuff. I never. And now I'm positive that basically, if you can think it, there's a level of consciousness out there. If they can agree that it's so, that is out there.
If you can think it, it must be real because it's there in consciousness.
Correct. And
There's
the
no
only
such thing as yes, we can have thoughts, but it's not made up. It's there. And the question is, was it there as you're thinking of it? Has it always been there, or has it been there from the past and you're just energetically aligning with it. So many different definitions. Timelines is what vibrational frequency you are operating. If you can think of lines like timeline 1, 2, 3, 1 would be the lowest when you're at a very low vibration, and this is created by essentially negative thoughts.
Yeah.
Of course, there are certain circumstances, but in order to change your reality and to move up, it's not really like that, but to move up timelines, it's based on thought, feelings, and emotions. And working with the heart structure, it really is the heart structure, love is what it's all about. That's
Yes.
also what I've learned, really. Love is what it's all about. I just had to say one more thing that just came to me. You know, the tenacity and the incredible power of people to overcome obstacles really has moved me a lot through incredible circumstances. And I just wanted to say the other thing that's just come to me is that there's always light in the darkness, no matter what you've been through or what you're going through. If you're down on your knees in despair, there is always, always light, always.
That we do have a team of guides and
Yes.
angels and if you want to call them ancestors, relatives
Mhm.
that watch over us. I mean, I occasionally will sense like my grandmother, she likes to pop up around. I'm like, oh, there she is. Especially if I'm feeling maybe a little blue or a little confused on a topic, like, she'll show up and we're just not alone. And the other thing is, don't you think sometimes, Louisa, that we have to go through the dark night of the soul so we can see better, new, brighter beginnings?
Unfortunately, yes. I've known even
Yeah.
more recently, and you can call it times of suffering or despair. It's or long talks with yourself under the moon with tears and weeping. And
Mhm.
it's when you come out of it, it's when our greatest growth occurs.
Mm.
Just for one of the reasons why we're here with, people we journey along in this life is to be kind to other people. I remember when my mother died a few years ago and I was alone in Europe and I couldn't get back because of COVID and I had no one to talk to. And it was just the most simple thing. I was walking down this big avenue, just walking, and walking that often helps me. I like walking. And this young, middle-aged woman walked past me and smiled. And I just still remember it. It was several years ago. And that smile just made such a difference, and I knew I wasn't alone. It was the most simplest thing. Smile at a stranger. You don't know how it's going to change their life.
Wow, and that you went through that too. I'm sorry about to hear that your
Oh,
mom
that's okay.
passed. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. My mom's I mean, who knows what the future holds. She seems pretty healthy, but she'll be 80 in August. So, I laugh. She's kind of my best friend. I'm thinking, boy, how am I going to handle that? But you know what? It's part of
Yeah.
life. It's
I had
part
a
of
guest who had a near-death experience. I can't remember. He was a reverend. He was in the army, and he was a funny guy. He said, "Spoiler alert! I don't
oh,
want to spoil this for anyone. We're all going to die." He was so funny.
Reverend Bill McDonald. It's
Yes,
got to be him.
yes,
He's a
I love
trip.
him.
Yes, he's a trip. Yes, we're all gonna die. It's true. We're all it's part of the what is it, the whole circle of life. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just like in the winter, the flowers and everything dies, but guess what? They're rebirthed in the spring. We don't really actually die, but this is an opportunity for us too, after we live, let's just say a long, full life. It gives us a chance to pick another one. How do you feel like you're evolving right now?
How do I feel? That's a good question. Well, I think I'm continually evolving. You could call it. I've just been through an intense time of suffering, self-created. Um, we do create our suffering. I know that is a very hard thing to accept, but I even partook in it myself. Um, and I've come out the other end, and I just feel, well, I don't want unhappiness and suffering, thank God. It wasn't welcomed, it wasn't wanted, but I just feel I'm different. I look even at my home differently. I look at the world differently. I don't sweat the small stuff. I'm still me. I'm still Luisa. It's just like I've got another electrical switch in me. I'm just different.
Uh,
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Please subscribe, like, and make comments, and support this channel by becoming a member. Thank you for your continued support.